Evening all, as one old gentleman used to say many years ago. Welcome along, Cardff City phoning for Monday the 10th of November. And a very good evening to our Bluebirds who are in the box, our Foxes in the box. Jamie Anderson, top right. Evening, Jamie.
Evening, mate. You're right.
Yeah, good, thanks. Mr. Mark Pontin, welcome return, Mark. Good to have you back on.
Thanks, mate. I hope you're doing well.
Yeah, good to see you. And our defender supreme, right back, centre half, wherever you want to play him, Mr. Jeff Cleaton. Nice to see you, Jeff.
How you doing, Steve? Yeah, good, mate.
All good. I don't know how everyone else is feeling. It's your show, guys. So get in touch on the text, on the comments. We love to hear your thoughts on our away trip to the seaside. Blackpool on Saturday, and Jamie was up there. James, go on, tell us what you thought. A bonkers game.
Yeah, it was probably an unstructured game, let's be honest. I think it was almost like a basketball match or whatever. First 10 minutes, they've got a fairly new manager. They come straight at us and we have to waive that initial period. They probably could have scored one or two. And then we sort of settled into the game, didn't we? And then we had more than enough chances and the keeper just grew in confidence, didn't he? It just looked like it was almost like having 2 or 3 goalkeepers in goals. We've had that, haven't we, this year, where we've had Nathan Trott's excellence. So going in 0-0 at half-time, Wiggy, you're thinking, how the hell is it 0-0? And then the second half was just, it just felt like one error led to another. And then when it's 2-0, it's like, oh my goodness, you're chasing shadows a little bit. And then, like I said, there was no structure to it. It didn't feel like it anyway. And yeah, I came out the ground myself, probably a few others maybe, frustrated at how the hell we'd lost and we conceded 3 goals against a side that were near the bottom of the league.
It was a bit kamikaze, Mark, wasn't it, on Saturday? Especially the second half. Don't know what you thought about it.
I just think it was a comedy of errors, Steve. That's all I could describe it as. I just think we've been making too many errors in games since the start of the season. Really, personal errors, missed passes, missed tackles, etc. And I think we should have buried it in the first half. We didn't, and then we were made to pay in the second half. We got a young team that's growing in experience, but they're gonna be naive times, which they showed. And I think, like Jamie said, with a new manager bounce, Blackpool were up for it. And I don't know why Barry Murphy didn't get a grip on it in the second half, though. It was chaotic. It was chaotic at times, and it was. I just felt that the middle of the park. Even though Jeff said earlier Alex Robertson had a good game, I think we were overrun quite a lot in the middle. Sometimes it bypassed our midfield completely, and like we mentioned before we came on air, Dylan Lawler had the best and the worst of performance. Great surging forward in the first half, and he was awful surging forward in the second half. So. Yeah. I just think we should have buried the game. It's just game after game now where we can't seem to score goals. It's reminding me of last season, to be honest.
Bit frustrating, Mark. Bit frustrating. There's a good comment there, Jeff, from Paul Howells. Thanks, Paul, for getting in touch. Any comments? Let's have them, boys and girls, and let's get you on tonight. Paul says Lawler's been great for us. However, he showed his inexperience with Blackpool's first goal, which Mark and Jamie just touched on there, Jeff. Second half, he was so disjointed and open, which we will come to. But as a centre half and ex-right back there, Jeff, I don't know what Dylan was doing with their first goal.
No, exactly. That's as I said, I rate Dylan. He's a great prospect, but that first goal, the player's running at you, and he's backing off him. I think he was concerned about what was outside him. Was the cover there? But you go to the ball. You've got to go to the ball. So if I'm playing centre half right back, I want to stop the man who's got the ball. And Dylan seemed to get further and further away from him. And I was actually screaming at the telly at the time. I go, get close to him, get close to him. And it just invited the shot. And I think the shot caught Trott out. I honestly thought it was flying over the bar when I first saw it, and it absolutely flew into the top corner. But Dylan was well at fault for that one, unfortunately. Thought he had a bit of a mare second half. He was too far forward. He got spun for, I think it was his second goal as well. He was too tight. Turned him, come back inside, and then I think he passed. Maybe Fletcher again, or the Bloxham goal, one or the other. But he was also at fault for that goal. Very unusual, but a young player showed a bit of naivety, I thought, Steve.
Yeah. You made a great comment earlier, James, just before we came on air about Fletcher. Go on. Someone said to you on the way up the ground.
Yeah, on the train home, a Blackpool fan said to us before the game, they all thought he was a conference sort of striker, thinking, he's the worst thing ever. After the game, they all said he was like the Blackpool Ronaldo. They said he wouldn't have to buy a drink. He wouldn't have to buy a drink that night. But listen, that's what it's like, isn't it? I think we've had our fair share of strikers in the years where, we could probably think that, oh my goodness, they're not the best, and then all of a sudden they whack one in, and you think, wow, where's that come from? Where's that been all season? So, it's the old saying, isn't it? You've got to buy a ticket to win the lottery. And our numbers weren't called, unfortunately, the other day.
Yeah, I got to say, looking in at the game, as I said earlier, I don't think you'll ever see a more bonkers game. And the amount of chances we've gone from what you mentioned earlier, Jeff, you were at Bolton, to where we really struggled. I don't think we maybe had one shot on the goal all game, to the first half at Blackpool, where we were creating chances just willy-nilly. I wrote down, I think that Colwell had 3 chances around about 30-35 minutes. He had 3 chances in the space of a minute. And their keeper, as you said, James, made worldy saves. And I remember that name. He did play for someone else, Peacock Farrell. It sticks in my mind where he's played against us before. And he's done all right. But he was like, as you said earlier, he's like having 2 or 3 keepers between the sticks. And it wasn't for we created some great chances. I don't know what you all thought, especially down the left-hand side. But we just didn't capitalise, just didn't put one in the net. And if one goes in, as we all know, it's a totally different game, guys.
Yeah, well, I think at the end of the day, any game, you got to put your chances away. As you said, Colwell, he had a shot, he had a diving header. From the diving header, he tried to flick the ball in again. Helliman had a really good shot, and the keeper pulled off a good save. 3 or 4 good saves. Colwell, Ruben set up his brother for one, and he struck it straight at the keeper. And he did the same again in the second half, actually, Joel. We've got to put these chances away. If we don't, they're going to come back and bite us on the proverbial, and that's exactly what happened. You've got to say, the 3 finishes by Blackpool were cracking finishes. Salick never got into those positions to sort of make those finishes. I have got to mention the treatment Salick had on Saturday. You were there, James. No protection at all from the referee. The number of times he was just wrestled to the ground. I know you might say, hey, 50-50. I don't mind going up against the centre forward. You give a bit, you take a bit. But, I mean, I don't think Salick's getting any protection at all in this division whatsoever. He's getting frustrated. And fair play to the boy. He's still got 6 or 7 goals. So, Well,
it's a good comment there.
We need something else. We need something more than Salick. Somebody else has got to be weighing in with the goals, haven't they?
Yeah. There's a good comment from Paul Williams there. Thanks, Paul. Good to hear from you. Never been one to blame referees, but it was Bob Manley is his name, James, the referee. Yeah, but we've had him a few times down here. And never been one to blame referees, but referee gave Salick absolutely nothing all afternoon. Do we all think that Youssef is giving enough back then?
Every time he does though, Steve, he gets pulled up for it, doesn't he? Every time, if he sort of has a bit of a wrestle or does anything, he gets whistled against straight away. So I don't know. I feel a bit sorry for the boy. Maybe his movement could be better. Sometimes he's just standing there, letting the centre half get tight to him. Look, start moving the centre half about, but then he's generally got 2 centre halves on him, hasn't he? This is where maybe we've got to look at the formation.
Yeah. Do we think then? I don't know what you reckon, Mark. Do you think it's it's a case of, I mean, if you think back to the start of the season when we were very hard to not only beat, but I mean, teams struggled to score against us. So is it a case of us like getting back to basics then?
I think at the start of the season we were a bit of an unknown quantity because nobody knew how we were going to set up and play, and we had a lot of new young players coming into the side, etc. So I think we were, once teams started to work it out, they either countered us by pressing us, or they, like Burton, they'd sit back and just defend, depending on if we were home and away. And I don't think we had a plan B to you know, if we had all the possession, we do pretty well. But if we had a team like Blackpool that went at us, you know, we were lucky to ride the storm in the first 10 minutes. A team like Burton who sat back, we didn't really have an answer to get through there. And I think that he's still tinkering with the team a bit much. I mean, for example, I would have preferred Wintle on Saturday purely because he mops up a bit more than Alex Robertson does. I just like you know, if he's on his game, Wintle, he's like having another member in the back line, like, you know. And I think that he perhaps would have done better, but there's no settled centre half partnership. He keeps tinkering with the middle of the park as well, and I don't like that. I mean, I call me old fashioned, but I like seeing this. You know, if they're fit, like Van Dijk, Kanate, you know, and the same partnership very well either. But you know what I mean. I like.
Yeah.
And I don't think because we got so many. I don't know. We've had a few injuries, but also Osho's out of form, and then Chambers is not playing that great. So he's trying to find two centre who are in form, and he hasn't got them. You know, and the niggly injuries, etc. We could do with another body in there that we can bring on, and we don't have it. And I just this, you know, we're League One. You know, as far as the referees go, we need to accept that's how it's going to be. Callum Robinson got taken down, didn't he? For that third goal, that was a foul, and you know, in the Championship, that would have been a foul. But we just got to accept that. That's the way it is. You know, we're just going to have to accept that. But I just think it's going to be a long season. I hope we pull through it and get at least the playoffs. But we're now seeing the reality of League One. You know, it's just the reality of League One. You know.
Going back to the starting lineup, James, I thought Alex Robertson had a particularly good game in the first half, and I take Mark's point about not being, you know, having that sit-in midfielder, but I thought Robertson did okay. But going back then to the start of the game, when you saw the team sheet, and you know it comes out a good hour before the game, were you anticipating 3 points, or did you think that side was wrong?
I think we knew what we were going to get with Blackpool. When you look at ours versus theirs, we were probably a more football-based side. You know, when you you've got three ball-playing midfielders there, haven't you? Really. Whereas Blackpool, you know, like Mark said there, you've got to have someone who's not. And George Honeyman for them was brilliant. He was here, there, and everywhere, and he cut off the middle of the park quite a lot, so that the ball into Ruben wasn't always on, so Joel couldn't necessarily link up as easily. I think, like Mark's point there, is sometimes maybe I know Wintle can frustrate people because maybe we want to see the ball go forward, but defensively at the minute, I think he's just that bit of glue in front of them, isn't he? He does get stuck in, and we had it last year with Siopis to an extent. I think when you need somebody there just to clear things up and do a bit of dogged work, just to help out, especially when things are your backs are against the wall. Because I think, like we said earlier on, there are finer nuances in games that you need to do and you need to learn when you're young, and that's just killing time. If you go down with cramp or you go down with something trot, maybe just to kill a bit of momentum. And I think when Blackpool scored their first goal, you could feel it. The momentum was only going one way, and you know, as youngsters, you're hearing the crowd noise away from home. That's a lot to learn on the spot. And I mean, we're, like you said, we don't necessarily want to call it tinkering. I know there's the hectic schedule as it is. But when we had Will Fish and Dylan Lawler at the beginning of the season, we were really strong. We looked very compact. The both players knew when to go, when to stay, and so on. And when you change things, then you kind of bring Osho in, and then Osho doesn't have a good performance. things are getting, picked up on. And I think Ian Everett said something very clever in his post-match interview, which was he asked his centre-backs to do something they were unfamiliar with, which was to go into the midfield areas and put pressure on our midfield three. And you noticed that because Ruben wasn't able to turn and play as much, because there was always someone up his, up his rear end, so to say. So, yeah, we've got to find a way. And we knew there was going to be hiccups in the road, but you just want it to be now and then to learn ahead of Northampton in the next league game.
Yeah, you're right there, James. Jeff, do you think? I'm just thinking. Let's look at the away games there. Do you think there's a case then for an away game? And Jamie, great point there with Wintle, because he will do a job there. He's good at linking play, but he's good at stopping as well. But do you think there's a case on the away games where we could play maybe Wintle and say Chambers in there, up two in there, sat in there, just to shield the defence, or is that too defensive?
I think if you play Wintle and Chambers, you're going to slow the game up too much.
Yeah.
You're not going to get that fast, incisive passing that we need to get forward. But or Chambers, but at the moment probably Wintle, and then at home I would go with the combination. I don't think there's anything wrong with the combination. I think Robertson is, although he's not fully fit yet, he's getting there. And he looks a decent player. Maybe he can do that box-to-box role that we need. But yeah, away from home, I just think we've got to be a bit more pragmatic. And having gone 1-0 down, we really just chased the game and left huge gaps at the back. And then when he took Robertson off on about 60 minutes, I would personally have brought Wintle on at that point. We're still in the game. Even if we'd got a point there, it wouldn't have been a bad point.
No.
But to go and lose it,
Jeff,
3-1.
I was going to say, when you mentioned that, sorry to butt in, I was talking to Si earlier on, and even when they were 2 up, I still said to my son on the text, I still fancy us to come back and maybe get a point here, because we were still creating lots of chances. But when they got the third, that absolutely killed it then. But you're right. We went a bit kamikaze, didn't we? Yeah, I think Murphy he changed it to a 4-4-2, didn't he?
Yeah. We definitely went kamikaze, and we'd push Kapaki up, we'd push Bagan up, we'd push Lawler. There was no cover. There was literally a ball over the top into empty space in our half, turned us, and they were away. And you look at all the 3 goals. All 3 goals are very, very preventable, and hopefully, I think Brian Murphy is doing a great job. But I think he will look at that. I think they're all going to learn a lot from that game, Steve. I think Dylan will learn a lot from it. He knows exactly what he did wrong. I think our best centre-half combination is definitely Fish and Dylan, but because they're both young, they're both a little bit injury prone. Dylan apparently is getting these growth spurts now, same as Ruben had. So I agree with Mark. You want your 2 centre halves, don't you? You want them to be settled. Your 2 centre halves, barring injury, you want your 2 centre halves playing regular, and we haven't really had that. So, if we could get them 2 together, but I don't know. We've got the cover there probably. I like Chambers. I think Chambers is a very experienced player, but I don't think his best role is centre half. To be honest, I think he's probably sitting in there, sitting midfielder. That's ideal. So, but he's got to finance it, Steve. As simple as that, isn't it?
Yeah, good point, Jeff. Good comment there for Martin. We're a young team, and we all know that. The low is bound to follow our highs, and Barry Murphy will get this team playing. But we do need some physicality in midfield, and Fish is a fundamental necessity. Of course, the thing about it, I think we're trying to manage injuries, aren't we? And like you just touched on there, Jeff, I think Fish has got a bit of a knock. Obviously, otherwise he would have started Saturday. I read that he was out completely. I was surprised to see him on the bench, James, to be honest. And then Dylan, as you said, is having a bit of a spurt. And I noticed he changed his boots again on Saturday. So, obviously he's not 100% as well. Looking at that then, Mark, what do you reckon? And if you're watching this tonight, I don't know what you all think, but is there scope for us to bring you know, even if we're not going to spend any money in January, or even if Mr. Tan won't spend any money, is there scope for us to bring anyone in on loan? I don't know. Or where would you strengthen, Mark? Where do you think we need, you know, desperately need some bodies in just to give us that bit more of a team ethic type of thing?
Well, we need cover for Joe Bagan. We need a centre back, and we need a midfielder, in my opinion. I'd like more than that, but you know, a left back. I mean, Joe Bagan's playing pretty well. He's putting some good balls in as well. I like Joe Bagan a lot. Always liked him. But if he gets injured, they're going to move Capaccio to play left back, I suppose. I can't see that working myself. I think we could go on a bit of a losing streak if we have that. They've got to find cover for him. Centre back. I mean, you know, I think we just need another body in there. My faith in Osho is not good. I don't like him at all. He's not. I don't think he's adapting well to the style of football he's been presented with, even though he's worked with Barry Murphy before. And it's a shame that Eli King got injured, because I think we would have been all right if he'd not got injured. Okay. He's more of a 6 to me, like Wintle, and you know, Alex Robertson is like an 8 rather than a 6. Joe Colwell's an obvious box to box more of an 8, and when they've got the 2 8s in there, to me, even though he played well, Alex Robertson, and he's coming back and he's getting his confidence back. I like a 6 and I like an 8. You know, I like someone who's like Wintle will track back. He's one of the ones that's got a bit of, you know, he'll put his effort in and try and you know, get back there. A lot of the time the ball went just bypass the midfield. It just the Colwell and Robertson would be next to each other, further forward a lot of the time, you know, and I know they're finding their feet. You can say they're just not used to playing together, you know, they're not used to the system playing together. But I just think it'd be nice if we had another combative midfielder in there, not necessarily a playmaker, you know, someone like another Wintle or someone like that we could throw in as well. But I don't think Tan. I think we got 2 loans, haven't we? So is Nathan Trott's not? He's a loan, isn't he? Nathan Trott's.
He is at the moment. Yeah,
we got 3 loans. I don't think we can get any more. I don't think. I'm not sure, but I don't know how it works. But you know, I don't think Tan needs to spend any money. He's want us to get up with what we got. You know.
Thanks, Mark. Interested to know what everyone thinks about Osho. I've had many debates with quite a few bluebirds on Osho. Where do you stand on him, James? I personally, if you ask me, he hadn't done too bad. But obviously, the things that are going to stick in your mind are those 2 back passes, obviously. But when he's come forward with a ball, he looks okay. But do you think there's another position? Could he play as a 6 or an 8?
Do you know, that's what a few of us were saying about if he's probably he's very calm at centre half, isn't he? And I think, like you see with some of his passing, he does it before necessary thinking. Maybe he's on a different page to someone else, but why not try him as a number 6? Because like you said, he's almost like Dylan, isn't he? He likes to drive out with the ball. He's quite confident on the ball, but maybe his defensive errors and his lapses of concentration are costly. So maybe try him as a 6. I mean, I think there's a player in there. I don't think we would have signed him if we didn't, and especially with it being our only permanent transfer of the window. Yeah. I don't think we would have signed him if we didn't think there was a player in there. Obviously, Barry Murphy's got to protect him because he can't come out and slate him, can he? So I think he used the whole the excuse book, didn't he, that he came out with. But listen, I'd probably expect him in the squad tomorrow, if not in the starting 11 tomorrow night. And listen, you know, the only way, I suppose, to get over the mistakes that you've made is to play minutes and to put good performances on tape, I suppose.
So no game now for a couple of weeks, Jeff. What's your thoughts on Osho? Do you think obviously it'd be nice to see him out there tomorrow, just to see if he's see how he's getting on mentally more than anything?
Tomorrow will be interesting, won't it? You know, it's a route to Wembley. It's probably our easiest route to Wembley, really. But you know, we went and messed it up losing the Newport, didn't we? So you know, we don't always. I was reading today, you know, because we've got a lot of players, and even with our under 21s, been called up by Wales, under 17s, under 18s even. So we're missing a lot of players who definitely played in that game. But apparently, Arsenal got 7 of their under 21s called up by England. So, you don't know what sort of side they're going to put out. I'm just wondering, if we've got to play by the rules, we've got to play 4 players from the squad on Saturday, I believe, or at least start them. I don't see why Isaac can't get a game. He hasn't had that many minutes. I know they're trying to manage his minutes because of his injury record with his hamstrings, etc. But I would have thought Davis might play. I don't think he's going to risk Salek. Robinson hasn't played very much, has he? So Robinson could play. Oshu, if I pronounce that right. I think he's got to have a game, really, hasn't he? We got to give him a chance. Personally, I think there is a player there. He's just been a bit casual at times, hasn't he? And it's cost us once, nearly cost us again. The other day, that terrible back pass. So, but yeah, there's a player there. I was just saying earlier to one of my mates, would he consider playing a 3-5-2 tomorrow? But I don't know what players we've got to play because I don't know who's available, quite honestly, because of the call-ups, But would you consider changing the formation tomorrow and going 3-5-2, playing 2 up front, just to see how that works? Maybe playing. Personally, I think Oshu could play in midfield, but then who do we play around him? Tomorrow will be interesting. I couldn't call the side tomorrow, Steve, because I really don't know who's going to be available.
Let's look at the attack then, guys, and I think one of our major problems is obviously Youssef is not getting protection from the referees, but not only that, he scored 7 goals, I think, didn't he? But I mean, fair play to him because he's not getting the best service, is he? But is that because Jamie's up there on his own, and is that why you're saying, Jeff, that you'd sooner have the 2 up front, be it Robinson, Isaac, or Ashford, tight with Salek, or what do you reckon, Jamie? Would you go with it? Would you try a 2? Because he just seems to favour this one centre forward, and don't forget our 2 wide men have virtually got chalk on their boots all game, albeit that they're not proper wingers, are they? So their natural inclination anyway is to come in, so we're making the pitch narrow. We're not getting behind teams, as we said on the show before. But would you sooner see 2 up front then?
Yeah, I think it comes down to the spaces and the distances between people, because I think we conceded a goal against Peterborough in the cup, didn't we, where the keeper went long and it went over the middle of our players and it went basically straight to the back 4, and then obviously they got him behind. And Saturday, I think, was the same, where if Youssef does win the ball and he's trying to hold it up, sometimes there's too much of a distance between his players to provide that support for him. So then the other centre half then just naturally, while one's holding Youssef, the other one just sweeps up. It's a tough one, isn't it? Because when we did go almost like we do go 2 up top, we seem to do it when we're behind in games, and sometimes it has a good impact, but sometimes it has the opposite. Like you said, we're too open. Why not? It's a cup game, like you said. Some fans, quite open on it that this is a Mickey Mouse Cup in essence, and it's probably a game that we don't need. That's probably shown with the attendance tomorrow and the lack of players we got. I'm not being funny. If that was a Carabao Cup game or an FA Cup game, it'd be postponed because, we did get shafted against Newport in regards to the sheer amount of call-ups we've had. Any other game gets called off. We see that in the league. And like Jeff said there, who knows what team we're going to be able to field tomorrow night. So why not experiment with it? Because we could be playing with some under 16 players. Who knows? You never know. Axel might play, who broke the record as the youngest sub for Cardff. So, yeah.
What about you, Mark? Would you sooner see 2 up front? And if it's Salek and another, who would you like to see? When I think back to when Ashford was coming through before he actually got in the first team, he was banging in goals as a centre forward, as a 10, wasn't he? And same with Isaac. Weren't they more sort of central players?
I think we've had this problem for a while now with these inverted wingers, if I'm honest. I mean, sometimes it works pretty well, but if you think about the wingers cutting inside, right? If you look at down our left-hand side on Saturday with Bagan, most of the crosses were coming from Bagan. They weren't coming from wingers; they were coming from the fullbacks, yeah, the wing backs. So you'd think that the wingers cutting in there would overload, because there'd be the striker, the 10, and the wingers, and a midfielder maybe in there as well. But it's not happening like that. We've had this situation with this formation for a while. When it works well, it works really well. But it's odd to me that Brian Barry Murphy, coming from Man City, has stuck to this 4-2-3-1. When you look at those top teams, they're playing 4-3-3 most of the time, you know, and even some of them now are reverting back to the old-fashioned 4-4-2. Now, when you have the two strikers up front for you, it's much more for the defense, the centre halves of the opposing team to have to think about. And if you've got a striker like Yusuf Salek, who's more of a poacher kind of striker, he's not, you know, he wants the ball fed to him. And if you have another striker there who's more a creative kind of striker, making a bit more runs there, you know, to me it makes sense to at least give it a go. But the last season we didn't give it a go. This season we don't look like we're giving it a go. I think that the two of them, Robinson and Selec, I think if they had a run of games, it could be quite potent for us. And if they stopped so much the cutting inside and the wingers did the old traditional thing of crossing the ball in, you know what I mean? You got two in there. I think it's worth a try, especially in games like tomorrow, because why not try it out? You know, it's if we win the cup, it'd be great. But you know, we're after the promotion at the end of the day, so why not give it a go? I think it's this problem we've had with this system for a while, you know.
Martin Ryan thinks Robinson's not fast enough up front. Paul, CFC Bluebirds, good to hear from you, Paul. We're not good enough up front, boys. When we're creating 10 or more chances each game, tells us we have a weakness. Jeff, would you look to play two up front then as an experiment tomorrow? But who would you like to see up front with Salek? Would you like Isaac up there?
Yeah,
as an out-and-out striker now.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said earlier, I think we're playing both Ashford and Isaac Davis, one or the other. We're playing them out wide. I don't think either of them are out-and-out wingers. They're both forward players. Play off a big man. We haven't tried that. You know, personally, I think Isaac's got more pace, so he's the one who could probably cause more problems. But as you said, you know, Ashford was banging him in 2 seasons ago, wasn't he? I'd like to see. Yeah, I'd like to see us give it a try. Why not give it a try? I tend to agree with that other guy, what he said about Robinson, and also it could be Robinson his nose is put out at the moment because he's not getting selected. But you were there, Jamie. I thought when Robinson came on Saturday, he didn't do a lot. You know, he should be busting the gut when he gets on to get that goal, to cause problems, and he almost looked like he didn't want to be there. We've seen that with Robinson before, and that worries me a little bit. You know, maybe give the two of them a go. You know, both of them, when you look at their pedigree, they should be scoring goals in the first division, shouldn't they? You know, Robinson and Salek, they're both good finishers. Fair play, Salek's got 7 goals, but I honestly think he needs help, Steve. Yeah. So, I would go with 2 up front, definitely.
If you think back, though, Jamie, you know, through notoriously, I mean, okay, let's not go too far back. Chopper and Bothroyd, you know, let's go a little bit further back. Tony Evans, Adrian Alston, Brian Clark, John Toshak. You know, notoriously, through the mist of time, that's where we got most of our goals from. So, you know, and like Kyle's saying there, what's BBM expecting to happen? Salek on his own up front, rest give him absolutely nothing. We agree there, Kyle. No one around him other than 2 or 3 defenders. And you can see he is getting frustrated. So it does need to change. I think this has been going on for a while, though, Jamie, isn't it? You know, you can see the frustration with Youssef up front. I mean, you know, I played centre forward. I always had someone alongside me. You know, it was always a 2, and we always had pacey wingers. Are we missing Ollie Tanner out there as well, then?
Yeah, I mean, football goes in cycles, doesn't it? Like, you know, like you said, the way the top tier teams are now, You know, you look at it, set pieces were laughed upon when Tony Pulis used to talk about it, about the corners and stuff like that. No top tier, no top team would do it. Arteta and his revolution at Arsenal has shown that the long throw has come back and the set piece. Now all of a sudden sides are changing their views and their managers are changing their views because football changes, and BBM knows that. I just think at times we're caught out by what appears to be no plan B. You know, what is plan B? You know, is it a modification of plan A? Point one, you know, is how are we gonna, if a side is sitting deep, how are we gonna beat them? Because you can't always hug the touchline. Josh Bowler the other day, I thought played really well because he didn't stay on his wing; he came off it, and they were almost going man for man, but they were finding the little gaps. And I think Kean Ashford, like we discussed, is when he was playing as a 10, he finds those little pockets, doesn't he? He got that little bit of energy, but when you're like you said, you're hugging the touch lines, you've got a tight space. And if they're man for man and their left back's right at you, you've got to go inside or you've got to go back. So it does frustrate a lot of people because there is talented players there. And like you said, are we missing Ollie Tanner's just simple touch the ball, whack it past and chase the ball and whip it in the box? You know, football is as simple or as hard as you make it. And at times I think we overplay and it's given us problems. As opposed to just like we've discussed, just get in the box into a 6'5" striker to header it in and score a goal.
And I'll add into that as well, Mark, is pops around the box and you know, shots. I mean, we did a lot better on Saturday, and we were shooting. But I mean, the number of goals you just see you put the games on the weekend, and someone will have a shot, and the ball's deflected off someone's backside, and it flies in the other corner. I think we need to do a little bit more. I mean, we the amount of chances we created in that first half was unreal, to be honest. And if it wasn't for that keeper, and I think someone's mentioned, thanks to whoever it was, that he's the Northern Ireland keeper. That's where I may have seen him before. But he did. He just had a worldy game. But at least we were creating chances and getting shots on target. It's just that they weren't going in the right areas, or that their keeper was just, you know, had one of those games, Mark.
I suppose, to be fair, you know, if it had been another game, we would have been 3-0 up by half time. I mean, it's the first. I've sat in the Ninian stand screaming for Ruben Colwell to head the ball. He always used to duck out of the headers. Now he's in this game, he does a diving header, and I was like, if you've told me, if I hadn't watched that game and you told me Ruben Colwell did a dive, I would believe you. You know, that he should have. He almost scored twice with the same chance with that as well. Now, you know, we should have scored. We were a bit unlucky, and their goalkeeper was exceptional. And I think then it gave Blackpool a lot of belief and a lot of momentum. And then we didn't have an answer, do we? You know, well, our head probably dropped a bit. We're never going to get it past this keeper. How are we going to beat him? And you know, then we started pushing for the goal because they went 1-0 up, and that was it. Then it was all over the place. But you know, we have to kind of be a bit fair to them because they did create a lot of chances. They did. In the second half, Kean Ashford almost scored in the second half. You know, it's just the finishing isn't the best sometimes, you know, and some dead cert chances. Even Salak is to blame, and you know, he blazed one over the bar. You would have put your money on him scoring. You know, I just think that the ball didn't run our way a little bit as well, you know, and it was just one of them things. It's just there's too many personal errors for me anyway that's causing us to drop points and lose games. That's you know, I think we'll score goals. You know, if we keep the momentum up, I think we've shown we can score goals. I mean, even Callum Robinson, Jeff was saying he hasn't played. He scored 4 or 5 goals this season. You know, that Kellyman has scored a couple of goals since he started playing. I just think clean up the personal errors, have a plan B, like Jamie said. You know, be a bit more fluid in the formation. You know, maybe when we're defending to when we're attacking a bit more often. You know, that midfield's getting exposed a lot when we're defending. You know, it's you know, we were unlucky as well. Let's be honest. In the first, we should bury that.
Yeah, good point. Martin Ryan's got a good point there, Mark. Neither Arsenal or Man City play with 2 up top. Midfield players need to support Salek better. and that was one of my it was a little bit better on Saturday, but that's one of my big beefs from midfield, especially last season. Midfield weren't getting in the box and in front of our strikers, and we need a bit more of that. We're sort of halfway through the show, a little bit more. I know we talked a lot about the Blackpool game, but as a general rule, are we all happy with? The manager's come in. He's virtually transformed the way we play from last season. He's playing all the youngsters, James. So, and what are we saying? Are we happy with the way it's going? Virtually halfway through the season.
Yeah, if you would have asked me during the game on Saturday, I was probably like I said, you know what? It's joys of being a football fan, isn't it? You take the emotion out of being in the stands. You sit back, you watch the highlights, you look at the table, and you think, actually, it's not all doom and gloom. If we win our game in hand against Huddersfield, for example, we, obviously with Northampton before that, we'd go top, and you take that emotion out of it and go, we're seeing more homegrown players than we've ever seen before. We're seeing players that actually do care. It's not as if if like you said, if individual players make mistakes, they laugh or they joke about it. They don't. They do care. That was the only good thing about going down. I know Omar has been on a podcast and said all these things about what he believes and what have you, but that's a thing of the past. The only good thing is that we've got, I think, is it 8, 9 players that are consistently in the first team squad now, that will be assets to us as a football club, and we'll give 110%. So, and I think that's the bare minimum we expect, isn't it, as fans, is if players come off that pitch and they've given their all, they are young, they're going to learn, and we're with them all the way, for good, for bad, for ugly. Listen, we're 4th in the league, and this league's a funny league, isn't it? It's a long league, but we've had a lot of travelling in the last 2 weeks, and I think it did look a bit tiring, I think, on some of the players.
Yeah, I think it's great, as Jamie said there, Jeff, that we got, at least we got some homegrown talent in the team, and there's nothing better. I mean, I think back to when I first started watching the City, and and we had local players in the team like Don Murray, and players who you can relate to, who wear the badge and want to play for Cardiff City. I don't think there's anything worse than seeing players who are not performing out there, and the last couple of seasons who have just been there for the paycheck. So it's great to see the kids, and I think personally Murphy's done a great job. I don't know what you guys think, Mark and Jeff.
Yeah, to be honest, Steve, at the beginning of the season and at the first game against Peterborough, when I saw the style of play and when the players he was bringing in, I turned around and I said, look, we're going to have to be patient. And City fans are not known for their patience, unfortunately, a lot of them. But yeah, to see players like Capaccio and Lawler and young Joel come into the side, and as you say, they want, they wear that badge on their shirt with pride, and that's what you want to see. And they good young players as well. They're going to get better. Bellamy's already recognised them. He's recognised Capaccio and Lawler. Within the first division, and what we got, 4 City players called up for the firsts, and I don't know how many for the 21s. They're doing a lot of good work behind the scenes, and I got to be honest, I know Tan isn't the favourite, but the one thing he has invested in is the academy, and it's starting to bear fruit, isn't it? We are starting to see young, good quality players coming through, and with that, you're going to get mistakes. You're going to get tiredness. You're going to get injuries, and we're seeing all that as well. But I think it's brilliant. At the moment, how can we complain when we're 2 points off top? We could go top with a win, and we're in the semi-finals of the Carabao Cup. I just snatched it arm off at the beginning of the season for that. I know we're the division lower, but when you consider we got rid of 14 players as well, we've only brought in 2 loan players and 1 permanent. So I think he's doing a tremendous job. He's learning as well. Got to realise that Barry Brian Murphy, he's learning, and he's got a lot to learn as well. Exactly like Jamie said and Mark said, at times we need a plan B. We need to be more flexible. But for the season where we are at the moment, I'm really happy.
That's good news. Well, I saw 3 names mentioned across the weekend, and a lot of people talking about Mété and Rawls and even Rinomhota, and whether there was or is or should or still be a place in our squad for those 3, Mark. Any thoughts on those, or are you quite happy to? I know that Rinomhota gave us good service last year in a poor team, didn't he? But were you pleased or glad to see them go?
I wasn't glad to see Rawls go, but I think it was time for him to go. I think Rawls
Time, yeah.
a great servant for us. I didn't like Mété, even though he came up with the odd goal. You know, I didn't like him at all. I thought he was a very basic footballer. And Rinomhota, I think he did have a good season last season, but I don't think he's got the quality overall. And I think the correct business decision was to get rid of him and push the youngsters through. You know, and I just think that what we're watching here, hopefully, is the blooding of a young team. That if it can stay together, we'll be Sunderland next year in a championship. You know, look where they are now. You know that, but I don't trust Han.
Well, Mark's gone. I'm sure he'll come back in. On that point, with the youngsters, what about, and obviously Sunderland, yes, they're doing really well. Halftime Orange's comments there. And I've seen that you probably noticed this across the weekend, James. A couple of my friends said, "Oh, Murphy's on his way to Middlesbrough." So I'm texting my mate Dave up in Middlesbrough. He said, "No, it's a lot of rubbish, Steve." They reckon Carlos Corberan, remember the old West Brom manager last year? Yeah, they reckon he's on the way there. But Murphy, because the way he's sort of brought all the youngsters through, he's obviously going to be on teams' radar, isn't he? And I see halftime oranges there mention interest from Celtic as well. I haven't seen that, but it is a bit unsettling, I suppose, and I suppose we've got to expect that, James.
Yeah, I think it's only unsettling if you want it to be. Outside noise can upset the whole ethos, the whole cohesion. Like Kyle mentioned about the Alex Robertson situation, you're never going to have happy people in the club. You can't please everybody. And listen, BBM is doing a good job with what he's got. It's not like he was blessed with 10 new recruits, like Jeff had mentioned there, in regards to the amount of players that we'd let go. It was always going to be a transition period, and I'm sounding very hypocritical to myself, because at about 4:30 on Saturdays, I'm walking out Bloomfield Road or stubbing out my, trying to get my train back. I'm thinking all the negatives in the world, how poor it was and stuff. But when you take that emotion away and you realise the first block is done, I've always said I'd rather start a season slow but finish fast, because that's when it matters more than anything, I think, at the back end of the season. And listen, Celtic, I think, that may be because the Irish and what have you, but Middlesbrough, they're probably going to go for someone more proven. They always do. Just don't let it bother us. I mean, the only one I saw was that Norwich were without a manager, and I believe his partner is from, or her family are from that neck of the woods in terms of Norwich. But again, why would you want to leave when this is a project that's only starting? You're not going to have 9-10 young players in a first team squad anywhere else, I don't think. No,
good point. It's a good point you brought up there. You got raw emotion there coming out of the game and seeing it live, and expecting 3 points, and unfortunately we didn't get them. But I think the key word is patience, and our trouble there, Jeff, is we've gone down. And we want to get back up as soon as, don't we? As much as it's nice to see the youngsters out there on the park and local youngsters. We do want promotion this season. And do you think we're going to get it if we end up in the playoffs?
The playoffs are lottery, isn't it? Look what happened against our nemesis Blackpool. Everybody going to that game. All my mates, I remember going there, and we're gonna win this. We're gonna be and I was the exact opposite. I thought, I got a nasty feeling this one's gonna come back and bite this. When you're in the playoffs, anything can happen. So we've got to aim for that top 2. I think we're capable of doing it. ideally, I think we do need reinforcements. We touched on it earlier. I'd like to see an out-and-out winger. I'd like to see a box-to-box midfielder. I'd be happy with that. I think we're okay at centre half. I think there's enough cover there. With we can play Chambers in there. We could even NG could play there. Bagan can play there. You might have to tweak it and play 3 at the back. But I think we're okay at centre half. I think we definitely need a midfield general. If we, somebody in there who's somebody like a Kavanagh, exactly. Yeah. But how often do they come about in there? And we're going to get Tanner back. Where he is an out-and-out winger. Where at the moment we play in, what I consider 2 centre forwards there. So that's where I'd like to see reinforcements if we're going to get them. I think Tan isn't stupid. He knows we need to go back up. All the rumours we had and everything that was going on pre-seasons about takeovers and everything, and then he's supposed to have done a big U-turn. I don't know if that happened, but if he is considering he wants more for the club, then we've got to be a championship club. Maybe he will loosen the purse strings and just give us that little bit more that we need to get us in the top 2. I think we top 6 as it stands. I think we top 6. We look at top 6 side. What surprises me, how many sides? Because normally 2 points a game will take you up, but there's a lot of sides around that sort of measure, aren't they? They're around that 2 points a game, more than I was expecting, to be honest. So it's obviously very competitive. The sort of top 10 is very competitive in our league. I think we're good enough for top 6, as I say. But playoffs, we could easily win them, but we could easily lose them as well. So I think we've got to be looking top 2, Steve.
Look at that on the screen there from Oranges again. It's a strange league. We started very well. There's only 13 points between us in 4th and 26 points and Plymouth, who sit bottom and who've been absolutely well. They're going awful. And of course, Mark, if you think about the January transfer window, it's generally a notoriously tough time to get any decent quality in there, because everyone wants a goal scorer, everyone wants a winger. It's always a tough window, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think we'll do a lot of business in January, to be honest. Not like Jeff said, we got Tanner coming back. I think they, like I said before, that they have to find some kind of left back cover, though. You can't see Joe Bagan playing the whole season, even if blood in another youngster. It's.
What about Giles out there, Mark? Ashley Giles, is he too young, James, or just throwing it in there, Mark? I don't
know. Possibly, yeah. Possibly too young. I haven't seen much. I got to be honest. Ashley Giles or Louis Giles?
Louis Giles, is it? Yeah.
Louis Giles. Yeah. I haven't seen that much of him. I don't know. He seems to be slipped down the pecking order a bit. Then he can't break into the first team. But there's still quite a few good youngsters. That
Mafiko
and there's quite a few good youngsters that are not quite getting in yet, and we probably see some of them tomorrow. Now, see who plays left back tomorrow. If we have a guy, a young kid that does really well, maybe he could be the left back cover. But I don't think there's going to be much business for us in January. I don't think there's going to be much. I don't think he's going to spend much money. I think he's got this Salah case that he wants to win and all this kind of stuff. I don't think he's going to be investing much, if anything, until that's sorted out. I think he's looking at us as prospects, as to make money. These players, not buying in players. As long as we're top, he's not going to invest that much.
Yeah. So we got is a couple of weeks break and a couple of I don't know what you think about the international breaks. Personally, I can't stand the things. I know they're changing the way the makeup and the way they do things next year, but we got a 2-week break and then we're back in away at Northampton and James, isn't it? Northampton away and then Huddersfield home. No.
Yeah, we got a big one, because we're out there. Yeah. It'll be a tough block. We've got to, if you're not away with the international team, we've got to enable that we're making sure that the players are still switched on, aren't they? You know, give them a few days off by all means. And years gone by, our players have probably used that to go to the, you know, Dubai and all this. You know, I think BBM will look at it again. We've got to reset. We've got to reassess who we've got available. Joe Bagan, again, like you said, he's worked himself to the bone, and naturally he needs a break. So maybe tomorrow we see TJ Parfitt, who was the left back against Newport County, and I thought did very well. He may play. Louis Giles is someone I thought that could probably have benefited from a loan move in the summer, because I think he's shown moments of quality. But like Will Spears now, who's gone to Merthyr on loan, men's football is different to 21's football, isn't it? So they need to learn that side of the game. But listen, like people are saying, Mafiko, Capaccio can cover there as well. There's all these different things. But
Perry?
someone said, Perry can if he comes back. I think we're still missing Willock, aren't we, as well? I know that's another body to come back in.
See, when you mention those names there, Jamie, we tend to forget if they're all fit. It's just, and as you said, there's a big block of games coming up, and the little matter of Chelsea coming down here in the Carabao Cup as well. And we want to put on. I was watching them yesterday. We want to try and put on a decent show against them, don't we? I think the tickets are on sale tomorrow, and I know the leagues are important. Jeff, but we've got a big block of fixtures, and obviously we're going to play Huddersfield on the Saturday now, because we're out of the FA Cup as well. So it's going to be a congested fixture list right through until the new year now, which is going to be tough. But I think the general consensus of opinion here this evening is we're doing okay. Let's not forget that we're fourth in the table, as you said earlier, boys, and with a game in hand. So, and playing all those youngsters, and we're not just playing one or two; they're all in there, So, I think general state of play. If you had to give it a sort of out of 10, Mark,
out of 10 for the season so far, 7.
7.
Yeah.
Yes, Jeff. What do you reckon?
Yeah, 7.5. Yeah,
7.5. We're going up.
Yeah.
That'll do me. And what about you, Jay?
Yes, about 7.5, 8. I think. Listen, there's plenty of room for improvement. We know it's always better knowing what you need to improve on, and knowing the answer you've got to get to than not knowing, isn't it? And like you said, the only way is up. These players are going to get better. They're going to learn. They're going to mature. So let's hope we can continue the promise that they're showing.
Yes, and the plastic population, 1988. Just put my other hat on there. The only way's up. All right. Well, I just thought I'd throw it in there. That's all. Good luck to Wales in their 2 World Cup games. Thank you, boys. Great show. Really enjoyed tonight, and we'll catch up later on in the season. Keep the faith, and thanks everyone for the comments. Have a good night, everyone. Cheers.
Yeah. Cheers, Steve.
Rascal Beats.
For your Caesar, Cardff City, right with me for your Caesar.